Okay, I think that's everything that's here that have something on the agenda perhaps. All right, we have a bid tab to review, and I'll call on Jessica Financial, our city engineer.
Thanks, Mayor. It's that time of year, time for our annual pavement resurfacing bid. Generally, the way we bid this is we utilize the state price contract, and essentially we're just utilizing the laying cost. The haul and lay is essentially what's being bid. The total price for haul and lay this year is $106 per ton. To put that in perspective, last year our price was $100.75 per ton, so it's up about a little over 5%. Over the last 5 years, it is about a 24.7% increase. So I also kind of passed out our paving list. This is pretty much what we've kind of settled on for this year, and will accommodate our budget. And again, we generally have some contingency monies in our paving budget, so hopefully we'll get these ones taken care of, provided we don't run into any unforeseen subgrade repairs or something like that. But should be pretty straightforward.
I think, Aaron, I looked at the budget. Looks like I think we on that line item it's about 620. I think for this.
There's some other things that are built into that. But for paving, it's
for paving.
510,
I think 565 is what we budgeted, so we're right on there.
All right. Is there any other questions of Jessica in regards to the? I mean, this has been traditional. There's only one asphalt plant in our city or county, and there's only. It's hard to compete if you're going to haul asphalt from Shepherdville or Rural. That's why there's one bid typically, both in the city and the county. But do you know if they tie this to any state pricing or anything?
Just the mixed price. So there's like the state price contract mixed price that we utilize, and the reason this price is higher is predominantly in their labor cost, just the cost to haul and the haul bill for their
the mixed. I think they get the same price from the county and us as they would on state level.
Right, mix is the same state price. Yes.
Okay.
Jessica, this is the total. This is all of them that are going to be done for this cycle, right? It's on the
Yes.
sheet.
Yes. And again, we generally watch it as we go. I think the intent, provided the council approves the bid, and they go, I think is intending to get started next week. So we'll kind of get knocking out some of these streets. If it looks like we've got a little extra, we might try to catch a street. But sometimes I like to hold, if there is a little bit because of contingency, until the spring, in case there's any other additional utility work. We might, or another utility that came through and made some cuts in the streets. We'll try to.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it going to catch all the utility work that you're doing now as far as the water line stuff? And I see fifth and second on there.
Yes, yes. We'll hold those until we're done with the utility work.
So those are the only two streets that are being built this time. I see where they're doing edging on it. That's the only.
The ones that really needed a state highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thankfully we don't have to budget for that.
That's what they
highway
need
is
more
in bad
than.
shape.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I need a motion then to approve the recommendation for Mango Construction's bid for asphalt paving this year.
So we make.
Motion by Councilman Hibbs, is there a second? Second by Councilman Shekels. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. Everybody's had a chance to review our minutes from the July 25th meeting. If there's no additions or corrections, we will approve them by unanimous consent. And then we've got the minutes from two electric and cable committee and then recreation. So David, you're the chairman of that committee. I'll call on you to give them a kind of report out of the Electric and Cable Committee meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was kind of hoping Eric would be here. It's always nice to have him as a backup, talking about this kind of stuff, but I'll do the best I can. So Heaven Hill, just to give an update on the electric stuff, and most of this is in your, Gary does a great job, much better than I do taking notes at the committee meetings. So Heaven Hill's transformers, and this is the large Heaven Hill project, distillery project. They've pretty much all been delivered, and the gear is on order, and they're on schedule to complete that project summer of next year, summer of '24. Bourbon Downs, there's several service transformers that have been connected to the underground. They're currently pulling wire, and they're going to be through fall, and they're looking at some 6 to 8 hour outages to make those changeovers and such, and those I'm sure will be, there'll be plenty of notifications put out there before those outages are undertaken. The Wellington project is nearing completion, and there's ongoing work, I think, on Windsor Avenue. Pioneer Pass has work continuing as well, and the recent outages we had discussed in the meeting, and what could be done to prevent that in the future. I was going to ask about roundabout relocation, and Mayor, you may have some newer information than I have, but as far as I know, all of our utilities, there's nothing much for the city left to do as far as the roundabout.
Relocation cities is taken care of the way it was supposed to be, as well as AT&T. Bluegrass LLC, everybody wanted to know what in the world is that pole doing to know the project. But that's Bluegrass LLC, which that's part of the Kentucky Wired project that provides internet connectivity throughout the state. But it also, this particular connection also is powering a number of cell towers, as well as some government buildings, both in Washington County and Marion County. But it looks like we met with them a few weeks ago. It looks like they will, temporarily, they will span it completely across the site and get rid of the pole. And then it will be put underground through a pipe that we worked out. As a matter of fact, I was with the state people today. That is going to be, I think, money available for that to get relocated and underground as well. And I think they want to get that moved pretty quickly, because that will really help the project move along. They think if they can get that moved pretty quickly, the project will be maybe much further along by December than they thought, perhaps. So that's where that stands.
Okay. At the electric shop, the renovations are underway and should be complete in the next couple of months. They're hoping that our next meeting will actually be held in the new electric shop. Jeff Mills was introduced as the city's new broadband engineer, and we're all excited, of course, to have Jeff back. And we discussed at length the upcoming retirement of Nahum Ayala, and which that date is when? Is it the end of this month?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Nahum will be retiring. Jeff did report that almost all of the fiber overhead is complete, and there was a detailed map presented that showed all of the areas and what remained to be done, but that they're pretty far along on all the overhead construction for fiber. Just what remains is a lot of the underground connections and taps and such. So, and also Nahum discussed the upcoming internet speed upgrades. And detail, there's a lot more detail coming on the next upgrade set. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Any questions for Councilman Knowles on cable internet committee meeting?
Yeah, David, is there any discussion about the Wellington as far as, is that going to be like 30 days, 60 days?
Wellington, yeah, that's, I think Windsor Avenue, if I'm correct, and that's why I wish Eric was here, but I think that's the last bit that they have to do. There's some transformers and things that still have to be located, and I think the only question was where they're putting them. You know, a lot of them are ended up in front of people's yards. As far as I know, we haven't had many complaints to that effect, but that's really the only change that people are going to see. You know, the overhead lines obviously are coming down and everything's going underground, but the transformers are now going to be located a lot of times in the front parts of the properties, because that's the only way that they could get them located. But
I think the concern, and I don't even know how long their yards have been torn up, but I think that's the question.
that's the, yeah, and that's why it's those last underground connections and transformer locations, you know, took a while to do that last bit. But I think Windsor is the last.
So is it on, I mean, are people working there though, you know, or not?
As far as I know,
Type thing or not?
as far as I know, that there are people working there. So I don't know any different, Joe. I'm sorry.
You know, you hear people say, well, I haven't seen anybody out here in months, you know,
Right.
that's a couple of calls, you know, you get sometimes.
Well, there's been a lot of pole changes and such that they've had to do. Of course, after the windstorms and such, there was a lot of poles that were damaged and couldn't really tell they were damaged. There was a lot of them that were cracked and marked for replacement. I think they've been kind of busy. That's, if anything has caused a delay, it was that. It's going to change a lot of poles.
It's good to know, thank
And
you.
that affects everything except the houses that are to the right of Castleton, which is Salt River.
Correct. Correct.
Anything else for David? Okay, and then I think Councilwoman Hart, you're going to give a report out on the Recreation Committee meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Daniel and his staff gave us an update on the arts and crafts. They're going to have vendors in the rec center again. They reported also that the numbers have been down at the pool some, and they had to adhere to some of those new guidelines about having so many lifeguards on duty. They did say that they've had quite a few private parties this year, just about booked every Friday and Saturday night, I think, so that's been good. They offered several new programs this year: kayaking, kite flying, the Bardstown board battle, the survival hike, and the community camp out, and the community garden, and the pickleball clinics. So I left that meeting thinking they are a busy bunch of people, and I appreciate the fact that they constantly create new ideas and new activities for our community. I think that's all I have.
And I think the work to install the new playground equipment in the community park should be started pretty soon.
I rode up there today. I guess that everything came in, which was on a Friday, I think, and a lot of boxes up there. So I haven't ridden up there this week.
I think he told me that would start within a few weeks of its arrival.
And I think he told us 3 weeks. It would take about 3 weeks for it to get built.
And all the other playground equipment would still be usable during the time. Nothing would have to be shut down while the work was going on. So it'd be a nice addition to it's both handicap accessible as well as for regular use as well. Any questions of Betty or for the?
I will add, I'm sorry, about the community garden. I think there's several residents from Henrytown that actually approached Daniel to do that, and they take care of weeding it and watering it and everything. So I think that's been a great community involvement project too.
Is it in the community park area?
It's just below the restrooms.
It's fair said, of course, but
Yeah.
neighbors in the woods would be eating all of it, the deer and everything. Some of the neighbors in Henrytown get them in their yard quite frequently, so. Anything else today?
No.
Okay. Moving on, staff, chief, anything to report out? Y'all's department last week or two, or last?
We did some training out at the water tower out on Little Road with the recent painting of the water tower out there off of 245. We got thinking, you know, if one of them had a heart attack, others in there sandblasting the water tower, you know, how would we get them out? You know, how would we set up our rope systems and things like that? So Jessica allowed us to go out to the water tower out on Little Road. It's empty at this time. So that's the first time we've ever been in the water tower. And so we were able to set up our systems on how we would get a patient down and found out our ladder truck would reach the catwalk on that tower, but it wouldn't reach the one on behind off 245. But yeah, it really helped us to get familiar with that water tower and how to conduct a rescue there. So, that's about it.
And just to keep you updated, we have interviews scheduled for the social services specialist next week and hope to have them in place by the 1st of September.
While you mentioned tower, Jessica, is there a tower, looks like you got
We've kind of got
the curtain off of it now.
Yes, they're kind of working on the intermediate coating right now, letting some of the interior paint harden. We're busy, little bees in our department. There's with the roundabout road construction work that's created some additional workload for our staff, just assisting with inspection and just mains getting hit and trying to keep up with both water advisories and testing and sampling. And we've our crews have completed their tie-ins for the downtown Phase 3 water line work there along 5th Street and to the Bardstown City Schools. So we were able to get that work done and installed just prior to school opening. So that was great work by our staff. We've got our temporary trenching in there and the pavement back in. There will be, again, as you saw on the pavement list, we'll come back and do a final surface, but we wanted to let that have some traffic on it and make sure there's no further settlement before we come do the surfacing. Leak eliminators will be in town. They've already began doing some of the camera work for the sewer for that same grid portion. So that's going on. The water line installation for the 12-inch that goes to Heaven Hill is making progress. You'll see those crews. They've got nearly all of the what I'm calling the easy install work done. They're now going to be moving and continuing with some of the boring and some of those utility locates have been tricky just to make sure they're in the middle of the main state highway and excavations are not permitted. So trying to get a full locate or a great locate on a gas main in the middle of Louisville Road has been a challenge, and it's not one that you want to hit whenever you are boring. So that's kind of a dangerous situation, and again, we're working through that challenge, and I think they've made some progress on that. And then the contractor for our portion of the interconnect has since located and started mobilizing, so you'll see some equipment out by Nutter Drive. So there's progress going on there as well. So we got a lot going, and it's fun to see things getting accomplished.
Yeah, that adds another section of our part of the Louisville Water Project, to get the water from the master meter over to water tower on Withrow. Yeah, I saw some equipment staging there this morning. So, thank you, Jessica. Anybody from the council? Oh, excuse me, we have one cemetery deed. We have purchase of one grave site by Angela Pointer. So we can do that by unanimous consent. All right, and then next on the agenda, any member of the council have anything to bring before the council this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Just real quickly, several years ago, the state put a program in place called Recovery Ready Communities. And so Jennifer Osborne with Lincoln Trail District Health Department has taken the lead on that in Nelson County. So she's working on it along with one of her staff, Diane Thompson, and myself. And it's been a really good process so far because it forces you to take stock of what you have in your community to be recovery ready and what needs you might have. So we're just now started the process. Once you direct funds attached to it, but down the road when you apply for other grants, it's something that you can certainly put on your resume that you're recovery ready. So that's probably going to be about a 3 or 4 month project for us.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? Okay. As far as my report out, I went to a Blue OSK meeting in Elizabethtown. That's tied into the battery plant that's being built in Glendale and Lincoln Trail Area Development District, is a collection of the 8 counties and the corresponding county seats in those counties. We have all been working on a strategic plan to create a list of the most significant needs that we see that are going to partly be the result of the building of that plant, up to 5,000 employees. And then there's going to be obviously corresponding additional plants, supplier plants that will come and be located in some of these 8 counties that constitute the Lincoln Trail Ag District. So they have been working for the last 3 or 4 months with all the cities and counties to create a list of priority list for infrastructure, water and sewer projects, gas projects, transportation projects, and so forth. So they gave us a report of the preliminary needs that were each county and of course all the cities submitted. We talked about a lot of large dollars needed for sewer needs here. I think collectively, there was like $400 million worth of sewer, wastewater needs in the 8 counties that constitute that are out there today. Now not all of that's tied to Blue Oval, but Blue Oval, you can imagine what Hardin County is going to need to be ready for that plant. And then same thing with road construction. And then there's so many of these counties do not have sewers out in their counties, like we do here. Hardin County does, but they have there is a sewer district. It's not a city. The city doesn't supply sewer services all over that county. So it was very eye-opening to see the number of projects. We submitted about $30 million worth of infrastructure projects that we have in front of us right now for sewer and water. And then the 2 transportation needs that were cited for Nelson were the completion of the widening of 245 from Flaherty Hospital to Beam, which has been in the works, but of course we expect a lot more people to be looking for housing here. We expect some plants to locate here to supply that plant, just like we have so many automotive plants here already supplying automotive companies in Louisville and throughout Indiana and Ohio and Tennessee and so forth. And then the other one is the 150 project from Parkway Drive to Fredericksburg. Those are the 2 most immediate needs as far as transportation that are cited. But we hope to finish and then the reason for the strategic planning is that we hope to be able to go with a plan to the legislature. Next session will be a budget session, and our state, fortunately, is in a lot better shape with the road fund and other funding that can be used for infrastructure right now than we've been in the past. So we're going to hopefully request the legislature to give this region, the Lincoln Trail region, consideration to help fund this project, because these projects that were listed are not totally funded right now. That's the reason why they were asking for it. If you can get the funding, what are your top priorities? And so that's what we've set. Interestingly enough, I drove by the plant this weekend. My first time, I didn't do it. I was on my way south, and I think there's 14 cranes on the job right now. Building 1, exterior-wise, is just about complete. They will start moving equipment in there within the next 90 days. Of course, that in itself will be a major job of building the manufacturing lines and so forth. They're already actively hiring engineers and maintenance workers. So anybody that employs engineers and skilled maintenance, be aware. Ford and South Korea company that's involved, they're already hiring. And then building 2 is just didn't get started at the same time building 1, so it's they're fast tracking everything as fast as they can go. Because the plan is for building 1 to be opening early in 2025. So that was kind of the report out today. So Jessica and Brad Spotted with the county have been working, Eric and some of the other engineers with our wish list for this project. So it was a good meeting, and it was good for me because I've never spent time with transportation cabinet people and asked about the roundabout, and our friends in Hardin County, everybody, a lot of complaining about the current situation because there's traffic issues and so forth. Well, Hardin County, I think they said they've built 6 roundabouts in the last about 3 years. And they said, believe me, we've heard it all, but when they get finished, everybody's going to be really happy about it. I talked to both the mayor and the county judge over there, and they said, oh my God, our phones have been lit up. I said, well, I'm getting lit up just about anywhere I go. It's a state project, but they ask questions. And so it's better now that they got the closure, finished, and now it's still not a perfect roundabout, and it's not supposed to be right now. But and there are times when they have to stop traffic even now when they're moving equipment, they're pouring a curb or a drop box. You've got a concrete truck there, and there's just no way for 2 lanes of traffic to move in 2 lanes when there's a concrete truck in the middle of it, and that just happens. So just have to try to be patient, and hopefully by the end of the year it will really be. And that's kind of what the state is going to help with traffic, is going to more roundabouts. And of course the regional office is in E-Town, so they said, well, we'll just make ourselves the first real area where they built a lot of them. And they said they're all working great now that they're complete, but any road cause traffic problems, so bear with us. So, and then the next thing, going along with the same thing, is affordable housing is already a major issue, or even housing availability. It doesn't matter. And I think again, most of the cities and counties in our ad district are experiencing a shortage of affordable housing, as well as housing inventory in general, the type of housing that's selling. And so there's going to be a roundtable on housing and affordable housing as part of Lincoln Trail's effort to help coordinate, a strategy to get some of that. And that's going to be on August the 24th in Lebanon, and elected officials, realtors, builders, and that sort of thing are invited to that. So I'm going to be going. I'm assuming Betty will be going. I've talked to some other realtors that plan to attend that. That would be good. I don't know what will come from it, but we're not sitting around and saying, well, I wish we had some affordable housing, because that ties into the 5,000 people who will eventually be employed there. That's not all going to come to people who are already living here, but a lot of people are going to have to move here and find housing in this district. So we'll be doing that on August the 24th. So that's all I have for my report. Anybody have any questions on the acronym for that is BOSK. So instead of saying Blue Oval, South Korea, whatever, they just call it BOSK. So
There's an affordable housing conference. Is that something that is an invitation? Or?
no, it's open to all elected officials, realtors, and builders, and interested people. I can forward that to you all if you'd like to see it. And you just don't know, you think about it, Glendale, I think Hardin County is a whole lot like Nelson. There's only like 2 full-time fire districts, like E-Town and Radcliffe. There's 12 volunteer fire departments in Hardin County. And, they can't service that kind of plant, nor can their existing EMS. You think about the needs for EMS, when you bring 5,000 more employees into your county in one location. So there's so many things that, of course, You know, you work and work and work, that was a 1,200 acre super site that's been there forever. This is the kind of development that was purchased for, and now it's here, but now you've got the elephant by the tail, and there's a lot to be, you know, they're building more interchanges on I-65 as we speak, and so forth, so a lot needed to support that. You know, you're located in an unincorporated city, you know, it'd be like putting that plant outside of Boston. You know, it's a lot of support work has to happen to make it work, you know, to get that people in. So we hope to get our share of the business from it. But we're still working hard to find land for a new industrial park. Still working every month on that. That's all I got unless anybody has any other questions. If not, then that's all we have on the agenda. So I have a motion for adjournment. Councilman Butler, the second. Councilman Hibbs, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.